When we hear the name Napoleon, we often imagine a powerful emperor standing on the battlefield, surrounded by soldiers, the sound of cannons echoing in the distance. But before he became one of history's greatest military leaders, Napoleon was just a child, a boy with dreams, temper, and determination. Napoleon Bonaparte was born on August 15, 1769 in a small town called Ajaccio, on the island of Corsica. This island, surrounded by the blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea, had recently become part of France after being sold by Genoa. The people of Corsica had fought bravely for their independence, and the island was filled with the spirit of struggle and resistance. It was into the world that Napoleon was born. His mother, Letizia Bonaparte, was a strong, intelligent, and beautiful woman. Napoleon admired her deeply and always spoke highly of her. He believed that his success in life was largely because of her strict upbringing and strong values. She was both loving and firm, rewarding good behavior and punishing mistakes without hesitation. She did not tolerate lies or disobedience and ensured her children grew up with discipline and strength. Napoleon's father, Charles Bonaparte, was a lawyer and a man of noble background, but he had a more relaxed nature. He had once fought for Corsica's freedoms but later accepted French rule. While he cared for his family, he was less strict than Letizia and often left the responsibility of raising the children to her. Napoleon was not the first child in the family, he was the fourth. Two siblings had died in infancy. His older brother, Joseph, was close in age, and the two often had a competitive relationship. The house where Napoleon grew up still stands today. It was not a grand place, but it had many rooms, a ballroom, bedrooms, a study, and more inside were pieces of furniture that had history, including the sofa on which Napoleon was born. As a child, Napoleon was very different from others. He was strong-willed, confident, and often quick-tempered. If another child upset him, he would react aggressively, kicking, biting, or scratching. His mother tried hard to correct this behavior, but Napoleon did not like being controlled and often resisted authority. One famous story from his childhood shows both his mischievous nature and his mother's strict discipline. In the garden near his home were fig trees, and Napoleon loved climbing them. However, his mother had forbidden him, fearing he might get hurt. One day, unable to resist, he climbed a tree and ate all the ripe figs. While he was still there, a gardener saw him. Napoleon was terrified and quickly begged for forgiveness, promising never to do it again. The gardener seemed to agree and let him go. Napoleon thought he had escaped trouble, but he was wrong. The gardener told his mother everything. The next day, when she went to pick figs and found none, the truth came out. As a result, Napoleon was punished severely. This incident stayed with him, and he later shared it as a lesson from his childhood. Despite his temper, Napoleon was intelligent and curious. We learned his early lesson at home, possibly taught by his mother and relatives. Later, he attended a school run by nuns, where boys and girls studied together. At his school, Napoleon was not very popular. He was untidy, serious, and often naughty. He even became the subject of teasing when other children noticed he liked a girl. They would make fun of him with playful rhymes which impressed him. But Napoleon did not care much for social approval. He was more focused on learning, especially mathematics and geography. These subjects fascinated him, while other boys enjoyed games. Napoleon enjoyed solving problems and understanding the world. There is an interesting story that shows his early intelligence. Once, as a young boy, he rode a spirited pony to a nearby wine mill. He asked the miller how much grain the mill possessed in 1 hour. Then, sitting quietly, he calculated how much grain it would possess in a day and a week. Even at a young age, his mind was sharp and analytical. Napoleon also had a strong imagination. He would draw soldiers marching on walls and imagine battles. He loved being outdoors and often spent hours alone, thinking and working. His mother even built a small wooden hut for him where he could study and play undisturbed. However, his temper remained a problem. If his brother or anyone else interrupted him, he would react angrily. His brother Joseph often suffered from Napoleon's outbursts. Letizia, however, never allowed such behavior to go unchecked. She believed in discipline and raised her children with strict rules. Napoleon himself later admitted that his mother's guidance shaped his character. She encouraged good values and discouraged selfishness and weakness. As Napoleon grew older, his future began to take shape. His father decided that Joseph would join the church, while Napoleon would pursue a military career. This decision would change the course of history. With the help of a French official named Margot, Napoleon was given the opportunity to study in France. At just 9 years old, he left his home in Corsica and entered a new world, a world that would eventually lead him to greatness. This was the beginning of Napoleon's journey, from a stubborn, ambitious boy to a man who would one day rule an empire. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing historical story. Next part in next video.